nobody there. Sky is falling, metal rain, chaos mornings, no one's sane. Crumbling towers, streets in flames, forgotten heroes, who knows their names. Broken futures, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, August 14th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to today, as per usual, on day 167 of the Iran war. It's been that long. It's been that long. Gas prices here, holding steady above $4 a gallon. They're price gouging the hell out of us. We've got Mangione news. He pled guilty, and they have weird headlines about it. Take a look at that. Bunch of Iran war news. Mutiny on the USS Abraham Lincoln. All the ins and outs of that. The ins and outs of Iran war. From America, from Trump, and from Iran. Bunch of economic news. A little bit of Epstein news. Bunch of geopolitical news. There was another giant earthquake. What they're saying, 7.7 on the magnitude on the Richter scale in Indonesia. So a lot of earthquakes are happening lately. Kill Web. The Department of War rolled out Kill Web, advancing the kill chain. We'll take a look at all of that. Lockheed Martin unveils MORFIUS microwave counter drone system. We'll take a look at that. Other geopolitical news. We got some Russia-Ukraine war news. The demolition and genocide in Lebanon continues, and the genocide in Gaza continues as per usual. The occupied West Bank, the terrorism going on there by the ultra-Zionist settlers is gaining widespread mainstream attention. We even had Mike Huckabee, the ultra-Zionist Christian conservative, say that it was terrorism yesterday, what they're doing, holding this Palestinian family essentially hostage, staging a siege of their home. We'll take a look at all that and much more on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As I see a few people coming online, shout out to those in the chat. Shout out to Fat Bob and on the YouTube and Strong on the Rumble. So I don't know. There was this debate. I see people posting. I don't care, honestly. You see my coverage of it. Yeah, what they're telling us is BS. I mean, I don't know. To get into the weeds and all this about Charlie Kirk, there was a big, was it Candace Owens and this other Wilson guy? I don't follow either of them, honestly. Honestly. It's all shady. And I told my story about old Turning Point USA. I went to the rally over there at Fresno State protesting the miracles because I'm alumni of that university. And Turning Point USA was there. I was like, oh, yeah, good job, guys. You're protesting this. I think it's wrong, too. This, that, and other, the Fresno chapter. And they didn't want to work with me. So I was like, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever, dude. And that's my thoughts on Turning Point USA. Whatever, dude. And you're never going to solve the Charlie Kirk murder because the feds have covered it all up. And so we know at least that much, a giant cover up. And yeah, they're lying. So there you go. And I guess apparently it's captured the attention of many on the internet that want to dig into that conspiracy. I'm not going there. We got too much news to cover. All right, let's get to this day in history. Let's get to this day in history. On this day of August 14th, we go back to the year 1765. Massachusetts colonists challenged British rule by an elm tree, the Liberty Tree. It's said that's where the idea came from originally. 1820 on this day, the first U.S. eye hospital, the New York Eye Infirmary, opens in New York City. 1820. 1846, on this day, Oregon Territory is created. 1885, they're messed up, man. British Criminal Law Amendment Act raises the age of consent from 13 to 16 and protects against child prostitution. Still 16, really? It's 13 before that. On this day in 1908, and we'll have more on this in our civil liberties history section, race riots broke out in Springfield, Illinois, and we'll get to all the details in our civil liberties segment. 1912, on this day, 2,500 U.S. Marines invade Nicaragua. The U.S. remains occupying Nicaragua until 1925. On this day in 1915, British transport Royal Edward is sunk by German U-boat, killing 1,000. 1917, on this day, China declares war on Germany and Austria. 1935, on this day, Social Security Act becomes law. Let's have a little, the tiny clap there for the wonderful Ponzi scheme. They tell me I'm not going to be able to access, even though I've paid into it my entire working life. So we do appreciate the scheme, scam, fraud, Ponzi scheme known as Social Security Act. Enacted into law on this day, 1935. 1937, on this day, China declares war on Japan. 1945, Potsdam Declaration. Japan's government notifies the Allies that it has accepted the Potsdam Declaration. Victory over Japan. VJ Day. The Empire of Japan surrenders unconditionally to Allies, ending World War II. August 15th in Japan and other countries, depending on time zones. And of course, this famous image, right, of the sailor coming back there in New York City and kissing the girl. And I guess this is like hateful now or something. I don't know. Yeah, kissing the war goodbye in New York, VJ Day. And somehow this is hateful and discriminatory nowadays. But anyway, celebrating the end of World War II there, with the Japanese officially surrendering on this day. 1962, on this day, a U.S. mail truck in Plymouth, Massachusetts is robbed of more than $1.5 million. That's still a lot of money today. It was a hell of a lot of money in 1962. 2024, on this day, the World Health Organization declares Mpox a public health emergency of international concern after it spreads from the Democratic Republic of Congo to other countries, with 15,600 cases declared and 537 deaths. Don't you call it Mpox? It's monkeypox. Oh, excuse me. It's Mpox now. We don't want to offend anybody's delicate sensibilities out there. All right, on to this day in our civil liberties history. We had a few events. We go back to the year 1921. We've been reporting on the censorship by the United States Post Office. Postmaster General Hayes disavows role of censor. On this day, Postmaster General Will Hayes, in a speech to the newspaper publishers and editors in the United States on this day, announced that he would not play a role of censorship in his job. The occasion was his decision to restore the second-class mailing privilege to the German-language newspaper New Yorker Stiegen, which had been denied the privilege and thereby excluded from the mails during World War I. The denial of mailing privileges, which was entirely at the discretion of the Postmaster General, was one of the principal devices for suppressing dissent during World War I. We've been dealing with censorship a long time in this country. I know it can never happen here in America, liberty, freedom, all that bullshit, and the U.S. flag. We've had tyranny in this country damn near since it started. Let's get real. On this day in 19... What was the race riot? Oh, the race riots. 1908. Springfield, Illinois race riot spurs organization of the NAACP. A major race riot erupted on this day in Springfield, Illinois. The riot lasted 2 days, leaving at least 16 people dead, 9 blacks, 7 whites, and property damage estimated to be at about $4 million in today's dollar value. As was true of many other race riots and lynchings, the Springfield riot was sparked by allegations of rape of a white woman by an African American and other violent crimes. After 2 African American suspects were arrested and held in the local jail, a mob of between 3,000 and 5,000 whites assembled outside the jail. The commander of the 3rd Division of the Illinois National Guard was summoned, but the sheriff told him the situation was not serious. As a precaution, 1 company of the National Guard was held in reserve. The sheriff then enlisted Harry Lauper, a wealthy individual with one of the few automobiles in the city, to take the 2 suspects to the jail in Bloomington, about 65 miles away. Angered by the removal of the suspects, the mob began turning violent. The racist mob then moved through town chanting, cursing the day that Lincoln freed the N-words, no N-words in Springfield, and kill them on sight. The mob attacked the pawn shop owned by Reuben Fishman, who was aardvark, accusing him of selling guns to the blacks. It ransacked his shop, stealing his stock of guns and ammunition and setting the building on fire. The orgy of violence moved on to African American areas, destroying over 30 African American owned businesses. At least 2 individual African Americans were lynched. Order was eventually restored by the presence of about 3,700 armed soldiers on August 15th, the following day. Over the next few days, an estimated 10,000 out-of-town tourists came to Springfield to view the destruction. A large number of African Americans fled the city for good. Over 200 people were arrested for various crimes, including 4 police officers. About 10% of those arrested were African American. The riot had national impact, and a post-riot meeting in New York City led to the founding of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, the following year. We do appreciate our race riots here in America. And then finally, on this day in our civil liberties history, 1948, States Rights Party adopts pro-segregationist platform. The States Rights Party was formed by Southern Democrats, usually called Dixiecrats, who walked out of the Democrat Party convention on July 14, 1948, because the party's strong civil rights plank. South Carolina Senator Strom Thurmond became the States Rights Party's candidate for president. On this day, the party adopted an unyielding defense of racial segregation in its platform. Fun times there. All right, here's our segue to the news. More from lying Trump. Here's a hint. They're all Zionists, but he says Chuck Schumer's a full-fledged Palestinian. Chuck Schumer's an aardvark, full-fledged Zionist, and this is complete and utter bullshit from Trump. Segue to the news.
Radical extremist has not been disavowed by Chuck Schumer, who's a Palestinian. He's a full-fledged Palestinian. In fact, I'm looking for Palestinian garb. I'm going to send it to him for his birthday. I know him very well. Or crazy Nancy Pelosi, she's totally crazy. If you got to know her, you'd say she's crazy.
It's nonsense. Schumer and Trump, both ultra-Zionists. Complete and utter bullshit. More of the fake Republican, Democrat, left-right divide in this country. There's one government. Government wins every election. Government is an organized crime syndicate. Luigi Mangione pleads guilty to stalking, resulting in the death of United Healthcare CEO. He said, quoting him now out of the New York Times, "I shot Mr. Johnson in Manhattan. I knew what I was doing was illegal." There's a video report more on the Mangione pleading.
Coming directly from the New York Times, Mangione is staying seated to read his statement. He begins by saying that after years of enduring severe pain from an injured back and navigating the insurance system, he learned that United Healthcare would be holding its annual investor conference in New York City on December 4th, 2024. Although the specific location was not publicly disclosed, he said he researched the event online. Is there more above that, Alex? Do you want to pick it up there, Linda, if you want to? He says that he traveled to New York City and emailed United Healthcare leadership.
He also talked about here that he did print a gun with a 3D printer and affixed it with a silencer. Now, this is all information that we have known.
Prosecutors and the defense team jointly asked for an emergency hearing in federal court Friday. Attorney General Todd Blanche was asked about a possible deal today.
Does this indicate that there might be a plea in the offing? Yeah, go ahead.
There's a conference scheduled for 11 a.m. on Friday, and that's all we can say at this time.
If he were to take this guilty plea and strike some kind of deal, what does he gain?
The only perk that I could see happening here for Mr. Mangione in a plea situation would be a plea that does not have life, the word life on the end of it, which means he's guaranteed to get out at a particular period of time, and he's a relatively young man.
Well, I guess we're still waiting on the sentencing phase here. And I guess he's not going to get the death penalty either. So, but weird headlines out of AP. Luigi Mangione pleads guilty to federal stalking charges in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He admitted matter-of-factly that he trailed the executive to an investor conference and gunned him down on New York City street in 2024. They're going to use this, of course, they're going to use this to demonize 3D printed weapons and go after that. We know that. It's still pretty shady to me, honestly. Says in this AP article, federal prosecutors didn't give Mangione any deal or incentive to plead guilty. They and his lawyer said, nor did Mangione plead guilty to avoid a potential death sentence. That possibility was taken off the table when a federal murder charge was tossed out this winter. Mangione's lawyers didn't explain why he chose to plead guilty now, but after he entered the plea this morning in New York, hastily scheduled hearing, they quickly sought to have the New York case thrown out on double jeopardy grounds. The state's double jeopardy prosecution can kick in if a prior prosecution ends in a guilty plea. Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson. His defense lawyer said outside the courtroom, arguing that her client shouldn't face two prosecutions over a single tragic event. I guess it's some type of legal wrangling they're trying to do, looks like, between federal and state prosecutions. He did talk about his back pain being denied insurance coverage for his for treatment he sought for having a broken back and chronic back pain. And of course, authorities say Mangino's grievance is no excuse for killing. So we'll keep tracking it and see what kind of sentence they give him. And is the state going to go after him now? And how is that going to sort out? So it's still ongoing, but he admitted the killing today. All right, on to more killing. Day 167 of Iran war. Drone dominance, the White House is telling us today. We got a bunch of reporting about this. Hey, you can't afford groceries. At least the military-industrial complex is getting giant contracts, and we're blowing up a bunch of stuff. That's what really matters. Securing American drone dominance while building our defense industrial base. We don't have much of any other industrial base. I guess AI data surveillance centers, but there you go. Drone of the day out of the White House. American drone dominance. Restoring America's maritime dominance as well. And we'll get into the, we missed it, but we'll get into these autonomous orca shark type drone systems. Restoring American shipbuilding. All signs point toward we're gearing up for a major world war here. Today, President Trump signed a national security presidential memorandum to decisively usher in a new maritime golden age, expand commercial shipping capacity, build a resilient workforce, and revitalize a critical industry. Reports from military families and service members suggest the problems aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln may extend to other ships and even troops on land. Anonymous accounts describe several conditions, severe conditions, including shortages of food, water, soap, and supplies, broken water systems, limited showers, sanitation issues, exhaustion, and declining morale after months of deployment. Families say sailors are struggling with long hours, little rest, and lack of communication from leadership. One service member said conditions on other ships are also deteriorating, while families of deployed troops say they feel their concerns are not being heard. And then here's Trump literally laughing in our troops' face because he's Mr. America, loves the troops.
Well, no, that ship is moving. No, they're not. That ship is moving right now, or very shortly, and it's being replaced with another very similar ship. No. Not nearly long enough. Thank you, everybody.
Longest deployment ever, and he's at sea, and he says, well, it's not long enough there. They're pumping the propaganda on the War Channel, Fox News. They say President Trump cares about the troops more than anybody. Yeah, bullshit. The U.S. aircraft carrier USS George Washington is heading to the Middle East to replace the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has been deployed in the region for more than 250 days, according to multiple reports out there. So they are being swapped out there. I wonder how the morale on the USS George Washington is. They're saying, someone's saying, we'll stay in the Strait of Hormuz forever. The United States can maintain its naval blockade of Iranian ports indefinitely. Excuse me, it wasn't Trump, but he said something similar. That was Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said that yesterday as the standoff over the Strait of Hormuz drags on. We're in a Persian standoff there. indefinitely. The United States Navy can maintain a blockade like that because we'll rotate ships in and out, and we will continue to do so. Hegseth told reporters in Panama at Panamax 2026. Iran knows it can't get in or out on this blockade, and they know that there's no timeline on it either. We'll hold it as long as we need to, Hegseth said. The remarks came a day after Trump claimed total control over the strait and after reports that multiple sailors aboard the 5,000-person U.S. naval aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln have attempted to jump overboard. The instances are being cited as thwarted suicide attempts driven by mental exhaustion, grueling living conditions, and an unprecedented, repeatedly extended combat deployment in the Middle East that has lasted over 250 days. Iran's military said the waterway remains closed. Statement from Acting Secretary of the Navy, Hung Shao. He says the USS Abraham Lincoln crushed their deployment and will return home as part of a planned rotation. Details will come, but let me be clear, the safety and security of our sailors and Marines always comes first. Mission accomplished, troop welfare. This is how we lead. The Lincoln was extended because the mission demanded it. Deployments are hard. Combat operations make them harder. War is hell, and normal routines are disrupted. One of the hardest aspects about war fighting, beyond knowingly placing our service members in harm's way, is that even with the best planning and communication, change and uncertainty will always be in play. Our success depends on how we adapt. Sailors and Marines are expected to dig deep, and they always do. A leader's responsibility is to take care of their people the best way they can while balancing mission requirements. During this deployment, we have seen both the job is getting done and our leaders are taking care of their people. Unfortunately, the media are trying to paint our warriors as victims. Not only is that dishonest, but it takes away from the focus on the enemy and the threat it poses against our nation, people, and way of life. Here's the truth, according to the Acting Secretary of the Navy. Says, here's the truth: 266 days deployed, 200 days in a combat zone, 10,000 plus sorties, 1.5 million pounds of ordnance dropped, and retention rates on the ABE are among the highest of all carriers. It's also true a small number of mental health cases were treated with no loss of life. Meal plans were adjusted when fresh resupply was unavailable without a single meal being missed. Calls home were limited when the operational threat was too high. There is no question our young men and women have been pushed to their limits, but they have never broken. They are rightly tired, but have never been out of the fight. However, it is clear, knowing the whole story, our forces and their families are not victims. They are the epitome of American strength and resilience. So when the USS Abraham Lincoln pulls into the pier, join me and stand proudly with a grateful heart and give our sailors and Marines a hero's welcome they deserve. Semper Fi, hoorah, he says. U.S. must admit final defeat, says Iranian official. Chairman of the National Security and Foreign Policy Committee of the Iranian Parliament, Ebrahim Azizai, stated earlier today that Iran will stop confronting the U.S. will stop confronting the U.S. until final defeat, cautioning that the U.S. must recognize that if it again makes a mistake in its calculations toward Iran and exposes the security of our people to danger, we will rob it of security in various parts of the world. According to Isna, Azizi further stated the message addressed to the Americans is to accelerate their withdrawal from the West Asian region and to record this scandalous defeat in their memories. Says U.S. must admit final defeat. Footage released by IRIB, Iranian state media, shows the wreckage of a U.S. F-15 fighter jet, and they got a big old collection of. Show this a little bit. They're showing their collection of U.S. military assets they've taken down, and they have quite a collection now.
این بقایای جنگنده F-15 منهدم شده امریکا.
Apologies, there are no English translation or subtitles. But again, these are, Iran claims these are U.S. Drones, fighter jets, and equipment they've destroyed, shot down, and recovered during the Iran war. Yeah, so they put this out. I think we got a better video. They're saying, yeah, look at the bullet holes, and we shot these suckers down. I think we have another better video of other. Well, here they're saying they shot down these Q9 drones. What's being reported, a quarter of American Q9 Reaper drones have been destroyed now in the Iran war. Here's some more images of these drones allegedly shot down and recovered by Iran. Not much left there. Not much left. And I do believe, here's another video. This one's a little, Iran, they're saying on DD Geopolitics says, check out Iran's trophy case of downed American and Aardvark-land aircraft. Yep, they did shoot down a lot of our stuff there. You can see. Iran has reportedly struck a hotel in Erbil, in northern Iraq, housing U.S. military personnel with missiles and drones, marking the first military operation of the newly reconstructed IRGC. That's from the Hormuz report, and there is video. They did whack a hotel. Were U.S. military personnel in there? I don't know. But there's video of them whacking this hotel. They're in Iraq. Hard to tell there. We'll have to follow that development. Hope our service members are okay. Mr. Technocracy Vice President J.D. Vance said U.S. priority shifts from Iran's nuclear program to lower fuel prices. The U.S.'s main priority in the U.S.-Iran war is now shifting away from its nuclear program toward lowering gasoline prices for American consumers, Vance said yesterday. Preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, repeatedly cited by U.S. President Trump as the primary justification for the war, has now become secondary to restoring the free flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, Vance said in an interview with the war channel Fox News. I don't know that oil is down today, and it's way down from the highs in the early days of the conflict, Vance said. That's the goal. Number one, keep oil and gas cheap for Americans all over our country, he added. And then, obviously, goal number two is to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Clown world. They should just put the clown noses and honk them. Pentagon struggles to contain fallout as CENTCOM denies reports of mounting casualties aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. Well, Secretary of Navy there, or acting Secretary of Navy, said that they did admit some mental health problems. The U.S. Central Command put out this fact check post on all the media reports about mutiny on the USS Abraham Lincoln. Claim over the past 48 hours, multiple media outlets have reported several false claims related to USS Abraham Lincoln deployment in the Middle East. One report alleged 7 sailors died in a brawl aboard the aircraft carrier, and others have recently suggested a spike in suicidal ideations. These reports are false. Fact. U.S. Central Command says USS Abraham Lincoln has maintained among the highest crew reenlistment rates, 84.4% of all aircraft carriers in the U.S. Navy. The sailors and Marines of the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group remain resilient and resolved after more than 260 days at sea. 10,000 aircraft flights and 1.5 million pounds of ordnance expended. No service members aboard the aircraft carrier have died, and the one sailor who fell overboard August 3rd was quickly and safely recovered. He fell aboard. He didn't jump. You see, he just fell off the aircraft carrier. The rampant misreporting on Abraham Lincoln's historic deployment is a disservice to our men and women in uniform and their loved ones and FU family members. No, I added that, but I mean, man, okay. So that's your fact check. Here is Trump claiming that Trump says pretty soon I will be declaring the Strait of Hormuz a territory of the United States.
And after we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States.
Nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense out of Trump. Iran has directly rejected Donald Trump's claim that he will declare the Strait of Hormuz a U.S. territory, stating that the Strait of Hormuz cannot be seized by a tweet, nor by aircraft carrier, nor by issuing an order, nor by an election speech. Iran's deputy foreign minister, Kazim Garibabadi, added, once and for all, accept the reality. Up to this point, you have suffered strategic and heavy defeats. The Strait of Hormuz has been Iranian, is Iranian, and will remain Iranian. He emphasized that the strait will only be closed and opened under Iran's command, and warned that as long as you do not accept the reality of defeat and cease your fanciful delusions, Iran will continue to enforce the blockade. We're enforcing a blockade. Iran's enforcing a blockade. It's free flowing. The statement comes after Trump claimed, we just showed you the clip, that Iran is defeated and he would soon declare the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. territory. It's just simply not the case. And there's been reports that Iranian leadership, after we whacked their supreme leader and like over 50 of their top guys there, that they've been fighting for power inside Iran. Iranian President Bitchute, who in large part is a figurehead, had a few statements about it. He said the livelihood that our brother says, the livelihood that our brother says, the highest prices that he talks about, well, it's natural. Now, we used to bring it by ship. Now it covers a whole path and comes, the final price has gone up. Our income has decreased. We used to sell oil. Now we can't sell it. They have hit and destroyed some of our factories. We can't get taxes in that way either. Not only can we not get it, we have to give them money to stand on their own feet. The wheel must turn. I can't do anything for that wheel not to turn. It means our problem has multiplied several times. And on the other hand, our income has decreased. Talking about the economic attack. And we do have the Treasury has issued more sanctions. He went on to say, it's this dude. We don't have English translation. This dude, just so he put his face, president of Iran, again, in large part a figurehead. But he says, speaking to the division within the Iranian government, he says, I've said it many times. I say it again, and it's my belief I will never stand against the leader. It's not something I just say as a slogan. It's because unity is more important to me than those other values, because if unity is broken, that power will collapse. So they're trying to put up a united front in Iran amid reports of division between hardliners and different factions that want to escalate the war. Others want peace, and all these different factions, of course, now fighting for power there in Iran. Trump and Elon Musk have reconciled, allegedly. If you believe they ever had a falling out in the first place, I believe it's all political theater, WWE wrestling, but they allegedly had a falling out. Remember, Trump and Elon Musk have reconciled after their public feud last year. Musk plans to spend at least $100 million helping Republicans in the 2026 midterms, largely through voter turnout efforts. J.D. Vance and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles played major roles in repairing the relationship, while Musk's decision not to form a third party also helped. Charlie Kirk, who had also pushed for reconciliation before his death, and the two spoke at his memorial. Other signs of improving relations included Trump reappointing Musk's ally, Jared Isaacman, to lead NASA, and Musk returning to the White House for dinner in November. The two now speak roughly once a month, though Trump reportedly doesn't expect them to become as close as they once were, despite committing at least $100 million. Musk plans to keep a lower political profile than he did during the 2024 campaign, according to a report out of the Wall Street Journal there. Yeah, it's all inside dealings, pay for play, and the like. I'm glad that Elon Musk's man, Isaacman, is now heading up the money laundering operation known as NASA. And then what else about this? That's about it. I believe was all theater, but it was pretty good when Musk put out that post about, oh, yeah, Trump, you are in the Epstein files, to paraphrase him. Just saying. Iran has rejected U.S.-backed negotiation proposal from Qatar and Pakistan, stating that while both countries are in contact with Tehran, Iran has not decided to resume talks. Foreign Minister Odysee confirmed that messages are being exchanged through mediators, but emphasized that this is not negotiations. Iran's position remains unchanged. No formal talks with the United States until its conditions are met. We're in a Persian standoff in the Strait of Hormuz. On day 167 of the Iran war, a war we never needed to get into in the first place, again, our own intelligence said before we started this war, Iran was not an imminent nuclear threat to the United States, as did the State Department, debunking Trump's claims. On to some Epstein news now. BBC seeks to subpoena Trump family members in defamation suit. The BBC is seeking to subpoena President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., and his daughter, Ivanka Trump, and son-in-law, Jared Kushner, in connection with a $10 billion defamation lawsuit the president is pressing against the UK broadcaster. Lawyers for the BBC say the Trump family members, without question, have personal knowledge about President Trump's intentions in delivering the speech at the heart of the case. His January 6, 2021 address to supporters at the Ellipse as the Capitol attack was getting underway. The president's lawsuit alleges that the BBC documentary aired in UK in 2024 defamed him by splicing together distant parts of the speech to make it sound like he was endorsing violence. The BBC apologized for the editing, but denies that it is valid grounds for a suit. So we'll have to follow this story as it develops. The BBC here now. And allegedly they were trying to serve him subpoenas and they were blocked by Kushner and daughter Trump security there as well. Earlier today, I was seeing some reports of that. And again, Trump set up J6ers, MAGA. And so have fun with your traitor leader there. He set you up on J6. Straight up. More of this weirdness. Why are they all weird? Because they're all corrupt criminals, compromised, and that's the only way that you can even get into any type of position of authority here in American government. Andy Biggs' bizarre history of protecting child predators comes to light. MAGA Republican representative and Arizona gubernatorial candidate Andy Biggs was a lone vote against the bill to increase criminal penalties for engaging in child prostitution, in a move that prompted the Arizona Republic to publish an article called "Biggs Puts Pimps Johns Ahead of Child Protection." But the vote was just one in a series of legislative moves by Biggs to protect child predators, up to and including his vote to keep the Epstein files from being released last year. Kind of makes you wonder, right? Is it political? Is he part of it? I'm going to have to say, I'm just guessing here. He's part of it. He's part of it, and doesn't obviously want to run afoul of Trump, because we saw the Republicans that voted for the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the four of them. Who is it? Boebert, Massey, Nancy Mace, and who the hell's the other one? And one other one, I can't remember now off the top of my head. The four that voted for it, Trump didn't endorse them. They all lost their primaries. Could be for political reasons. I don't trust any of these lying criminal politicians. But just goes to show you he'd rather protect the perpetrators, the Epsteiners, than the children. So there you go. Vote harder for Andy Biggs. Simply marked POTUS 16 Epstein files documents flagged by DOJ for added scrutiny. Months before the Trump administration abruptly announced it would release no further Epstein records, someone inside the Justice Department or FBI simply marked 16 documents from the case with the designation POTUS. The detail comes from a spreadsheet titled DOJ Document Flag List, dated March 25th, 2025, among newly released FBI FOIA documents reviewed by Bloomberg News. The inventory catalogs records from the FBI Miami field office's original 2006 investigation into Epstein and includes a page labeled flagged items list per case per DOJ guidance. Most entries carry conventional justifications. Files were held back for containing classified information, foreign government information, or the identities of victims and potential public figures, but 16 entries list only as POTUS, President of the United States, POTUS, as the reason for the flag, covering an eclectic mix of materials, magazine and newspaper articles, message pads, phone message books, and at least one unidentified record. Some of the Epstein records singled out by the DOJ have since been released, but Bloomberg reported the inventory offers a rough explanation for why they had been flagged for additional scrutiny. Neither the DOJ nor the FBI had explained what POTUS signifies as a flagging category. The DOJ referred inquiries about the list to the FBI, and they referred it back to the DOJ. A circle jerk of denial, fraud, and covering up for the Epsteins, as we become accustomed to out of the FBI and the Department of Justice. And we wouldn't have it any other way now, would we? Anthropic's boss's wife tried to raise money from Epstein for porn business, reported out of UK Telegraph. The wife of Silicon Valley AI billionaire reportedly attempted to raise money from Epstein for a porn company aimed at women, according to documents released in the Epstein files. Cammie Clark, the wife of Dario Amdani, the chief executive of Anthropic, appeared to approach the disgraced financier seeking investment into Odysee, which described itself as a free luxury porn company. So they keep good company, as we have come to learn here. This report out of the Daily Mail: Trump begs Elon Musk for peace after their explosive feud. Donald Trump has spent months courting one of his biggest donors, part of a sustained push to shore up Republican coffers before the midterms. I reported on that a little bit. I think it was all fake, honestly. Musk is trying to cover his own butt in the Epstein files there by putting suspicion onto Trump, rightfully so, but they're both neck deep, all up in it. Better believe that. So we're cleaning up crime in America, they tell us. Now, Attorney General Todd Blanche says since the beginning of Trump's administration, the DOJ has moved at lightning speed. We have charged 170,000 criminals in the country. And just to put that in perspective, that's 50,000 more than the last administration did over the same time period. But what he failed to add here is they're actively covering up the Epstein files and all of the co-conspirators, covering up for them, as well as doxing victims. And so he neglected to mention that. Here's a little bit more from that. We highlighted it yesterday, the handwritten notes here now coming out in Freedom of Information Act request for from the who's this Fang reporter woman, I believe.
And some of this is handwritten notes from the FBI agents interviewing victims and also potentially even perpetrators, right?
Well, the FBI handwritten notes implicate Donald Trump. And I don't think it's a secret why they're doing the stance at the DOJ to not release them. They are handwritten notes by 4 different meetings with a victim who alleges when she was 13 she was sexually abused by Donald Trump. That's the allegation. Now, the actual 302s, the official FBI reports, they've been turned over. After much hullabaloo and pushing by media, they were turned over. Why aren't you turning over these handwritten notes? Well, today, the prosecution said, well, you know what? They're duplicative. That's the first time they've ever said it. Before, they said it was substantially similar to the 302s. So what did the judge do today? He said that the handwritten notes must be turned over in camera, unredacted, so that he can check them out, because they continue to refuse to give them to the court.
And of course, President Trump denies any wrongdoing having to do with the Epstein files.
As he does.
Yes, as he does.
Well, hell, Trump's been exonerated by himself. Here's a clip from More Perfect Union. Ghislaine Maxwell wanted to use technology to create a new country.
I want to play you a clip of somebody you might recognize suggesting a pretty wacky idea.
I'm going to leverage technology to create a new country. Now, I know I speak with a funny accent. I did say country, not company.
Yes, that is Epstein accomplice and convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. And while Maxwell never successfully did that, and she's a little tied up right now, that idea of using technology to replace governments with corporate entities has kind of popped off lately. It's showing up in Gaza, in Venezuela, even closer to home. But let me roll back a bit first. In 2008, slightly less intimate associate of Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Thiel, funded the nonprofit Seasteading Institute, an organization dedicated to building independent nations at sea. It was run by Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale.
We've changed a lot of industries so far here in Silicon Valley, but we haven't been able to change the government.
And Milton Friedman's grandson, Patrick Friedman.
So the barrier to entry to the government industry is you basically have to win a war, an election, or revolution just to start a new company. That's a ridiculous barrier to entry for an entrepreneur.
Today, Joe Lonsdale is one of the most powerful investors in tech, and Patrick Friedman runs an investment firm focused entirely on building privatized cities, like Prospero, a privatized city in Honduras. The company behind it disclosed that they lobbied for special economic zones in the United States. Meanwhile, California Forever, the billionaire-funded project to build a tech city in California, stalled due to community pushback. But now they're mysteriously calling themselves a shipyard to exploit a Trump administration plan to create maritime prosperity zones for reinvigorating American shipbuilding. Prosperity zones and economic zones are among the many phrases they use to make plans like this, regulation-free areas made to enrich tech billionaires, seem more palatable. This is Jacob Helberg, former top Palantir employee now leading economic development in the State Department, discussing plans to build low-regulation zones abroad.
And so one of our first big flagship efforts is the rollout of this economic security zone in the Philippines.
I hear maybe something with Israel. I'm allowed to say that. Maybe given what we're doing in Venezuela, who knows? You could do stuff there too.
The sky's the limit.
That's in keeping with Jared Kushner's plan for a new Gaza, and the suspicions surrounding the motivations for invading Venezuela. And it's gonna spread further domestically, even beyond California. Tech industry interest groups put out a policy playbook for special compute zones, a pitch to the federal government to seize control of public land to get around the intense public opposition to data centers across the country. They want to create regulation-free zones in your backyard where you have no input, and they're not even quiet about it.
We could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people we're never going to agree with you.
Yeah, they're a pack of criminals building scientific dictatorship technocracy. That's what's going on here. The Greater North America Project. Let's go ahead and take our live commercial break as we're at the top of the hour. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's in the description below this video. Get yourself a holograph sticker. We have the white background sticker and the clear sticker there. weaponizednews.com/shop. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We just went through an hour of all news there for you, commercial free. Give me some support out there, please. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Become a donor at Weaponized News. The links are in the description below the video. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App, all right there. You can see it. Become a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. Everything's free there, nothing behind a paywall. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis brought to you live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time on all of your big tech platforms there. Become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack. The links are in the description below this video. Everything's free there. We're streaming live on Substack right now. You'll get the full show, a detailed summary of the show, and links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and further research purposes. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis here. Not running you into a ditch like all your other. The large majority of clownfluencers out there are running Fed PSYOPs, limited hangout operations. Our record here at Weaponized News speaks for itself. Go look at our Odysee channel. You can go back to all of our reporting during the bad times to current and see where we're at to show you who we really are and what we're about. And we're not running these limited hangouts and all these other Fed slop PSYOPs on you constantly like your clownfluencers are on the internet. Show your support for real independent reporting and analysis. We are our own sponsor here at Weaponized News. We're not selling you some BS supplements or all the other BS out there. weaponizednews.com/shop. All right. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Friday edition, August 14th, 2026. Let's see the next scam here now being rolled out by NASA here. They keep claiming we're going to have permanent moon base. Call me skeptical. I don't believe them. I do believe we're going to throw a gazillion dollars down a black hole of fraud that may find some of the money behind Isaacman's ears here, as some have alleged we're subsidizing NASA program using his ears as satellites. Just kidding, just kidding.
We've made incredible progress in low Earth orbit. I mean, the International Space Station, if you're 25 years or younger, you have not lived a time when there weren't astronauts orbiting above you on the ISS. We've gained so much from it, but it's time to take the next step, to go to the surface of the moon, establish the enduring presence, work with the regolith. Number one goal, master the skills necessary to go to Mars. I mean, we've been gifted a moon here that's, 3.5 days away for us to test habitability, next generation spacesuits, putting a nuclear reactor on the South Pole of the moon to interact with the water ice in the permanently shaded regions of the South Pole so you can make life support. Whether it's oxygen, you can make liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen that you could use potentially for rocket fuel. You are going to, believe me, want to figure all that out and get very good at it when you're 3.5 days away on the lunar South Pole and when you're potentially 9 months or more than a year away on Mars. Step one, go to the moon, use it as your technical proving ground to go to Mars. You're going to get there's a lot of scientific potential on the South Pole of the moon. You can put radio telescopes on the far side. There's economic potential. We may have a lunar economy. We might be mining, refining lunar regolith for, who knows, helium-3 at some point. But number one, master the skills to where you go next, which is Mars.
You got to be spaced out of your mind to believe this bullshit. But hey, they're going to throw a gazillion dollars into it. All right, on to more economic reporting now. The U.S. government sold 30-year bonds at the highest interest rate in a quarter of a century. The yield at the $25 billion sale came in at 5.216%, the most since 2001. Are they going to do another 9/11 on us? I don't know. But not looking good. It's not looking good. It costs a lot to sell our debt. The risk is increasing here now. U.S. prescription drug prices fell by 3.1%. Don't do drugs, kids, even their prescriptions, if at all possible. anyhow, fell by 3.1% in the 12 months leading up to July 2026, making it the steepest annual decline recorded since March 1963, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics. 3.1% decline for your prescription drugs. Don't do their drugs, kids. The White House has accused more than 40 countries, including Canada, Mexico, and Japan, of helping Beijing illegally avoid U.S. tariffs by rerouting trade through nations subject to lower American import duties than China, according to the Financial Times. You don't say. They're rigging the rigged system or trying to find workarounds. It's just all so ridiculous now, isn't it? And you and I, U.S. consumers, wind up paying the price regardless, as we've seen here now. Roughly 45% of people ages 18 to 29 are living at home with their parents, the highest figure since the 1940s. According to a report out of Bloomberg, smells like a giant world war is coming to me. U.S. grocery prices rose 33%. We got some 33 columns in today. Rose 33% since 2019. Government data show that the price of food purchased for home use in U.S. cities has increased about 33% since the start of 2019, marking the largest jump in grocery prices in 50 freaking years. That's Associated Press. It's even higher than that, with even their rigged up numbers. 33% increase in the price of U.S. groceries. It's higher than that. I'm here to tell you. 33 is high enough. The cost of insurance has skyrocketed. That's true too. Increasing homeowners insurance and increasing auto insurance, amongst other increasing insurance premiums. Insurance companies claim higher prices are justified by higher risk, but this investigation by More Perfect Union says we found they are keeping more of our premium dollars than ever. Yeah, everybody, all these big companies, they see what's going on. They're like, no regulation, nothing stopping us. We're in price gouge, price fix, and rig the hell out of everything. Go American capitalism. It's the golden age of racketeering. A report more on these oligopoly economy here. Now, we don't have a free market. We have a monopolistic, quasi-capitalistic economy using rigged state control, i.e. fascism, merger of state and corporate interests. We have a bunch of antitrust laws on the books. They don't enforce any of them. Here's a shitty report about the explosive diarrhea and the bottleneck of supply through corporate consolidation of your salad.
Is corporate consolidation making people shit their pants? Yes, and that's not just my weird opinion, but a growing number of food experts. Just 4 companies control 54% of the North American fresh cut salad market. Economists will tell you that level of concentration looks a whole lot like an oligopoly. One of those 4 companies is Taylor Farms, the primary culprit for at least one of this year's concurrent outbreaks of the Cyclospora parasite. Those outbreaks have now killed 2 people, with reported cases exceeding 18,000 nationwide. It's not just that these companies are so big that one mishap can poison people in 47 states, as food policy analyst Matt Kinsella-Walsh writes, it's also that their corporate power translates to undue influence on Capitol Hill. For years, big agricultural companies have hired lobbyists to kill government programs to test high-risk produce like lettuce, or delay federal rules that make tracing outbreaks easier. In 2024, water testing for pathogens, including Cyclospora, was replaced, in Matt's words, by essentially an honor system. Taylor Farms, for their part, donated $1 million last year to a Trump super PAC, and another $1 million for Republican House candidates. But wait, it gets grosser. because cyclospora is spread through human feces. Agricultural workers are often pressured by bosses to skip bathroom breaks or not provide a clean toilet at all. And so they relieve themselves in ditches near the fields where they work. And even when bathrooms are available, workers may not use them because they're paid by the amount of food they pick and can't afford the lost time for a full bathroom break. Which is to say, corporate greed makes workers poop near your food, and now you can't even enjoy Crunchwrap Supreme. And while I'm amused when a fast food company grovels to its consumers to win back their trust, it's important to understand we don't have to keep living like this. Just last week, the jalapenos at Chipotle and Qdoba were implicated in a salmonella outbreak. The jalapeno supplier, Coast Citrus Distributed, was recently bought by Grub Market, a company that plans to IPO soon and describes itself as a, quote, AI-powered technology enabler and digital transformer of the American food supply chain industry. We need to undo the years of deregulation that got us here, get money out of politics, and bring back meaningful antitrust to break up these agricultural monopolies.
It's all across every industry, oligopolies everywhere, because this is monopoly fascism. And the law and order Republicans refuse to enforce it. So do Democrats. The government loves the corruption and the payoffs it receives. Department of Homeland Security spent $464 million on deportation aircraft flight and never used them. So I'm glad that we just flushed that money down the toilet. We're not getting our mass deportations as we were promised. The U.S. Homeland Security executed a $464 million emergency no-bid contract for 10 aircraft to handle deportation flights. Months later, the flights remain grounded because we're not getting our mass deportations as Trump had promised. The Trump effect here now, what does that mean? Just fraud? Means fraud to me now because they're putting Howard Lutnick out there as the front man on this. And Howard Lutnick's a giant criminal, as we continue to document here. Apple CEO Tim Cook says first mini Mac made in the U.S. will roll off the production line in Houston by the end of this year as part of its $600 billion investment. Cook said Apple is proud to put our money where our mouth is. Will they have suicide nets at this new Houston, Texas factory is the only question. Cook showing Commerce Secretary and Epstein acolyte Howard Lutnick around the new facility there. Truly disgusting. There's a clip from ZBS News about it, a little more about it.
We are proud to put our money where our mouth is.
In his final weeks as Apple CEO, Tim Cook has placed a Texas-sized bet on Houston. Alongside Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Cook toured this construction zone set to produce Mac Mini computers come December. Cook spoke to us exclusively.
Lots of different manufacturing is here. In fact, it's 450,000 jobs total in the United States.
Apple's chief operating officer, Sabi Khan, took us inside.
Would Apple have made the $600 billion investment had it not been for tariffs and pressure by the Trump administration?
You know, our supply chain is very global. And in this world, you need supply chain resiliency. So for us to diversify and have a global supply chain, it's really, really beneficial for the long term.
Apple is also creating a new talent pipeline, training entrepreneurs and students for free, as Trump's trade policies remain turbulent.
What's your message to American businesses who feel destabilized by tariff policies?
The Trump administration has been very clear. Build it here, hire an American.
This son of a bitch he needs to be in prison. He profited off of the tariffs knowing they were going to fail. Ugh, pisses me off so much. And we have to listen to this shit. Some good economic news here now, finally. Construction workers dig up mysterious $10 million gold stash while working on sewer system. This is out of report out of Belgium. They found a bunch of gold there. Gold bars found in Belgium, $10 million worth there. Construction workers discovered gold thought to be worth over $10 million during groundworks in the city of Dendermonde, Belgium. Officials have secured the treasure, which includes gold bars and coins, and are investigating its origin and legal ownership. So the government there in Belgium is going to steal it. Quite a haul there. I think I might have kept my mouth shut if I found this. Just saying, don't trust the government. U.S. national debt is about to reach $40 trillion, Market Watch report says, a milestone. And it's likely to hit $50 trillion soon. In the coming days, the U.S. national debt is set to breach $40 trillion for the first time. And it's soberingly. Bank of America's chief equity strategist, Michael Harnett, predicts the next milestone, $50 trillion, will be reached in July of 2029. These worrying landmarks reinforce a market prediction that fixed income investments are losing bets. This thing's coming on strong, the U.S. national debt. But hey, Fitch says everything's all right. Fitch credit ratings. Fitch affirms the United States of America at AA+. Outlook stable. Fitch ratings yesterday has affirmed that the United States of America long-term foreign and local currency issuer default ratings at AA+ with a stable outlook. The United States AA+ rating is supported by its large economy, high per capita income, dynamic business environment, and exceptional financing flexibility due to the U.S. dollar's role as the preeminent global reserve currency. However, high fiscal deficits and substantial interest burden and high and rising government debt levels constrain the rating. Debt is more than double the AA rating median. The government has not taken meaningful action to address the large general government fiscal deficits, averaging 7% of GDP since 2022. The spending pressures will mount over the next decade due to an aging population. And they go in through here, and I'll spare you the boring financial details. I'll post the link for those interested at Weaponized News Substack if you want to nerd out on Fitch credit ratings for America here. Trump's golden age economy pitch fizzles with midterm voters, Bloomberg says. I don't know why. They just lie about everything and act like they're disconnected. Trump is in his own little bubble, hiding in carts, trying to dodge assassination attempts, all this insanity, right? Doesn't go grocery shopping, doesn't put fuel in his own vehicle, doesn't do anything you and I have to do to get about maintaining just basic life here in America. So he's disconnected out there in his elitist Epstein bubble. And yeah, we're paying through the nose for freaking groceries, fuel, and the like, and anything else that depends on being transported and so on and so forth. The trickle down of the sustained massive increase in fuel cost in large part engineered by design here, and essentially just laughing in American consumers' face. U.S. to use economic tactics on Iran that have never been used before, according to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Bitchute. He said the United States will be applying economic measures that have never been seen on Iran. This will be in conjunction with the military blockade imposed upon the Strait of Hormuz. War Secretary Hegseth said the United States can keep a naval blockade of Iran going indefinitely. We reported on that at the beginning of the show. And so Bitchute went on to say it will be a combination of economic isolation like the world has never seen before. I don't know, see North Korea, and the continued blockade in the Strait of Hormuz that will keep anything from going in or out of the Iranian ports. Didn't we learn they're shipping a whole bunch out the back door through Pakistan? I do believe so. And they've already found alternative routes, but keep the lies going. He described it as a 1-2 punch from this freaking joker right here, Treasury Secretary. Pentagon inks multi-million-dollar deals with Boeing and RTX to scale up production of missile interceptors. The Pentagon has announced framework agreements with defense contractors, excuse me, Boeing and RTX, aimed at dramatically scaling up production of critical components for SM-3 Block 2A and SM-3 Block IB munitions, according to announcements detailed by Reuters and the U.S. Department of War. The strategic packs are designed to reinforce manufacturing outputs for the ship-fired surface-to-air interceptors that form the backbone of the U.S. Navy's ballistic missile defense system. The procurement push comes as Washington seeks to replenish depleted stockpiles and expanded defense industrial capacity amid heightened regional tensions and protracted naval deployments across the region. As we continue to report, we shot a hell of a lot of munitions at Iran. And here's Trump on the economy, showing he's fully disconnected from you and I, the American people.
I have a lot of things that are happening, a lot of good things. The economy is doing unbelievably from the standpoint of Wall Street. We just set another record, as you know. It's 80 times where we're the best market in history.
Yeah, you can't eat stocks there, buddy. Oil prices rise as U.S. threatens indefinite naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. The national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline, we're going to get there in a second. Here's more from Trump mocking us at the pump, essentially, here now. He says, when you have to pay a little bit more for your gasoline, I will never apologize. I think we should hear this clip, actually. Again, his bullshit weapons of mass destruction. Iran's going to nuke us. It's bullshit. It's lies. The Rockefeller oil oligarchs are setting record profits. This is Trump's reply to that at this law enforcement bootlicking speech he did earlier today.
So I just say this. So for you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline, just remember you're doing it so that a very evil country cannot have a country. Really, it's the number one state sponsor of terror in the world. We don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. So remember that when you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's I'll never apologize. I did the right thing.
What a piece of shit this guy is. Flash report. How does a military that spends $1 trillion a year run out of missiles? Good question.
How does a military that spends $1 trillion a year run out of missiles? That's the question after reports this month revealed the US Army has burned through virtually all of its long-range precision missiles, Army Tactical Missile Systems, and PRISM in just 5 to 6 months of fighting Iran. Nearly half of America's Tomahawks are gone too, and around 65% of Patriot interceptors. So where did the $1 trillion go? Truth is, the trillion doesn't buy infinite missiles. Most of it goes to troops, ships, aircraft, and bases. The actual precision weapons are a small size, and each one costs over $1 million. They also can't be built fast. Lead time from order to delivered missile is 2 to 5 years. The US used to make 50 to 100 Tomahawks a year. PRISM production is still trying to ramp up. Then there's the exchange rate problem. Iran fires cheap drones and old ballistic missiles. The US shoots them down with Patriots that cost $4 million each. You win every battle, you still run out. War games for a China conflict already predicted key munitions running out in days. Iran just proved it in real time. $1 trillion military isn't a bottomless one, and rebuilding these stockpiles will take years, not months.
And they don't freaking account. They don't even have a set of books that you can account for at the freaking Pentagon. It's just, they're stealing from us. They're stealing from us and lying to us. AAA national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline. Trump says he doesn't care. $4.08. You can see right there. Killing Main Street economy. And the Brown University Watson School of International and Public Affairs Iran War Energy Cost Tracker. Put that on the screen here for you. We're now up to $84.6 billion. You can see right there taking off since the beginning of the Iran war, February 28, 2026. And then the cost per household spread across both gasoline and diesel. And they really get you with the diesel. We're now up to $645.82 per household for Trump's lies. And I believe these are conservative numbers. I believe it's even higher than that. Washington is making Venezuela pay for its own occupation 32% of oil revenue. The U.S. invasion has turned Venezuela's oil industry into a revenue stream for Washington. Economist Francisco Rodriguez says the Trump administration has charged Venezuela $4.7 billion or 32% of its oil exports this year to cover the cost of invading the country and stealing their president. And we also stole their gold as well, if you remember that. It's all, but we're just keeping it safe for them. And now stealing 32% of their oil revenue as well. Well, just take it all and murder everybody, right? And we did give them humanitarian aid when they had the earthquake, so it should all be forgiven, I suppose. JP Morgan says Oman legally justified to charge Hormuz navigation fees. Denmark, Sweden, and Turkey charge service fees for vessels to pass through narrow waters in their maritime territory, providing a precedent for Iran and Oman to do the same for the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. investment bank and all-time criminals JP Morgan have suggested that Iran and Oman's strategy to impose mandatory navigation safety fees to transit the Strait of Hormuz may be legally justified, according to a report out of the Financial Times. They also said it's for the environment. We're going to get to that. There's giant oil spills going on there. They may need to increase the fees greatly to clean up the environmental disaster that has been transpiring here now. 2 oil slicks appear in the Persian Gulf as U.S.-Iran exchange attacks raise oil spill concerns. 2 oil slicks have been detected in Iranian waters, according to satellite imagery and video verified by Reuters. as reciprocal attacks on oil tankers and other vessels involving Iran and the U.S. raise concerns over potential environmental damage in the Persian Gulf. Let's go to this report out of Reuters, and we can see some of the real images and satellite images, I believe. Two oil slicks have now
it's clearly affecting a stretch of coast in Iran. You can see dark brown oil right along the shoreline, spanning an area about 4 miles long. But the oil slick itself, it's not only silvery patches, but there's pale blue and dark brown patches that indicate much thicker oil, possibly centimeters thick patches of oil floating on the water. And that suggests really a large volume of oil has been spilled. And by large, I would imagine, again, hundreds of thousands of gallons.
The slicks are in addition to another large spill there, detailed. Yeah, we'll stay there forever and turn it into the freaking tar pits. Saudi Arabia announces start of multinational Red Sea coalition. Saudi Arabia and 13 other countries have confirmed the formation of a maritime military coalition aimed at protecting freedom of navigation through the Bab al-Mandab Strait, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Oman, with additional countries expected to join. The initial members are Bahrain, Bangladesh, Comoros, I don't even know who they are, Egypt, Jordan, Kuwait, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia. We're going to bomb Somalia again. Sudan, Turkey, and Yemen. The Saudi Ministry of War said yesterday that 15 countries had signed a declaration, while 13 others are working on getting them to join the coalition. Here now, trying to make it through the Houthis pointing a gun at everybody's face right there, right? Yemen's Houthis say they struck Saudi-backed forces, weapons, and warboats in Macha with ballistic missiles, destroying equipment and causing dozens of casualties. They vowed to continue targeting Saudi military concentrations. There's a freaking war going on there between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis out of Yemen right now. France's top court rejected a law banning social media for under 15s, ruling it violated minors' freedom of expression and communication. Little pushback there in France on banning the minors from the internet social media usage. China has condemned Taiwan's 10-day Hon Kuing military drills as a wasteful charade that fuels a war panic. Beijing accused Taiwan's ruling DPP of turning cities into potential battlefields and civilians into frontline participants, while warning that the PLA remains on high alert and prepared to counter separatism and external interference. According to a report out of Reuters, China calls Taiwan's annual military drills a wasteful charade. Of course, they would down talk them in that regard. There was a giant earthquake, and I did see a few videos coming out. I didn't have time to gather them up, but there was 7.7 is a pretty large magnitude earthquake earlier today, hit Indonesia. The earthquake hit at 4:58 WIB. It's already August 15th there, according to this report, with its epicenter about 36 kilometers northeast of Imbe Nakito at a shallow depth of around 10 kilometers. Indonesia's BMKG issued a tsunami warning for districts, including in its northern regions, urging residents to evacuate beaches and riverbanks. No immediate reports of damage, injuries, or casualties have been reported yet. I'm sure we'll see some damage coming out of there. Is this part of the Ring of Fire? Are earthquakes becoming more active? Is this a weapon by the Zog out there targeting Muslims? That could also be a possibility. We'll have to see how this 7.7 magnitude earthquake sorts out there for Indonesia. All right, where are we at here now? Oh, on to Lockheed Martin unveils MORFIUS microwave counter drone system. Lockheed Martin revealed MORFIUS at a July Farnborough Air Show, a reusable X-rotor platform that neutralizes over 50 enemy drones per flight by disrupting their electronics. It launches from the ground, integrates with existing systems, and offers a low-cost per-kill alternative to pricey interceptors amid rising drone swarm threats. Online discussions praised its potential in layered defenses by questioned real-world performance and bad weather against fast FPV drones, high cost, and demo realization, while joking about training mishaps with the microwave emitter. Let's watch this short video about MORFIUS high-power microwave system to neutralize more than 50 enemy drones in a single flight, is the claim. There you go. Rolling out the directed energy weapons right there. MORFIUS, high-powered microwave system, in the back of a truck. Yeah, you could see right here. I want one of these in the back of my truck. Take a look at this. Imagine pulling up with that thing. They're not even shy about the directed energy weapons any longer. Okay, on to KillWeb here now. The Department of War announced earlier today, proudly, they say here now, Department of War Innovation Unit says, after a thoughtful search, DIU is proud to announce we've selected 2 new portfolio directors. Dr. Jared Conley will lead autonomous warfare. That's your Terminator robots. Autonomous systems are reshaping the battlefield, and Jarrett is the right leader to translate our competitive playbook into fielded combat power. Jared brings a proven track record of fielding capabilities for DIU and the Department of Navy. David Payne will lead KillWeb. He steps into this position after serving as DIU's acting portfolio director for autonomous warfare. The KillWeb portfolio has a clear mission: harness the rapid expansion of the commercial space industry and emerging electronic technologies to forge an unbreakable fires network. David is a former principal systems engineer for NASA, wink, wink, and vice president of a commercial space startup. As the KillWeb director, he will tie industry developments to operational problems, bringing the full force of America's high-tech markets to the doorstep of our enemies. And here are these two characters, Jared and David, right there. And then more on this kill web. Kill web architecture is the modern military concept that evolves the traditional linear kill chain into a resilient, distributed, multi-path network for detecting, deciding on, and engaging targets across domains. From kill chain to kill web, the classic kill chain: find, fix, track, target, engage, assess is sequential and relatively centralized. A sensor finds a target, data flows to a limited set of decision nodes, and a specific shooter engages. Disruption of any single link, jamming, destruction of a platform, or latency can break the entire process. A kill web replaces this with a mesh. Multiple divisive sensors, space-based, airborne, ground, cyber, electronic warfare feed are shared, fused battle space picture. Decision nodes, human plus AI assisted, operate at multiple levels, including the tactical edge. Any available shooter or effector, missiles, drones, cyber, electronic weapons, artillery can be cued by any relevant sensor data. Redundant communication paths allow information to route around damage or denial. The system remains functional even if individual nodes are lost. Alternative paths form dramatically. In short, a kill chain is one way to close the loop. A kill web is many simultaneously closing the loop, adaptive ways across multiple domains. And here's a little infographic they put out for us. The war fighting capability to sense, make sense, and act at all levels and phases of war across all domains and with partners to deliver information advantage at the speed of relevance. Wowzers. Oh, but there's more. I think there's a little bit more here. Yeah, it's about the same. They're going to speed it up, create the mesh. Taking out a node is not going to essentially take down the system. Why it matters: peer adversaries are building their own sensor shooter webs, notably dense satellite constellations. A linear kill chain is vulnerable to disruption. A true mesh is far harder to break. Big talk, but that's what we get, is a bunch of hype. We'll see how this develops. Kill web here now on diu.mil. Department of War Innovation Unit. Kill web. And they go through about what I went through there. And there's our new kill web leader, David Payne. Very exciting. This is older. I missed it. It was they put it. Well, it's ongoing. Developing this technology. Prototyping is underway for our CAMP project, Combat Autonomous Maritime Platform, CAMP, an initiative with the U.S. Navy to produce demonstration-ready, extra-large diameter uncrewed underwater vehicles, XLUUV, coming to an ocean near you. And they put out this Jaws infographic thumbnail for today's show. Pretty scary, actually, if you think about it. It's not actually a Jaws here, but it is this Boeing Defense. We've delivered the first Orca XL UUV. This is 2.5 years old now. Here's the most updated that I saw in my searches. There's others putting it out as well, but in real life it looks like this, not the robot shark there. It looks something like this. Right there. And then Boeing XL UUV, long duration, first of its kind, autonomous undersea vehicle. Unprecedented undersea autonomy with infinite reach and endurance, they tell us. I like this one better, but this is the reality of it per Boeing right there. Continuing, where are we at here? The United States is asking NATO allies for public alignment with Trump's policies as part of a review of U.S. troop deployments in Europe. A document seen by Bloomberg includes questions on whether allies have publicly supported U.S. foreign policy, restricted U.S. military base access, purchased from U.S. war firms, and supported Made in Europe initiatives. According to a report out of Bloomberg, it's a shakedown, essentially, of NATO. Moscow slams Washington for destroying Strait of Hormuz navigation through reckless military escalation. Moscow's permanent representative to the United Nations, Mikhail Ulyanov, has launched a sharp critique against the White House's posture regarding the Strait of Hormuz, arguing that Washington's military aggression against Iran single-handedly shattered regional maritime freedom. I don't know where he gets that idea. Secretary of War says we'll occupy it from now on and carry out the siege from now until eternity, essentially. Russian escort accused of assassinating Ukrainian defector. UK Telegraph. Allegedly, a woman has been accused of assassinating a former Ukrainian submarine commander who defected to Russia. A woman identified as 32-year-old Margarita Root was arrested in Sevastopol in Crimea on suspicion of carrying out the bombing on behalf of Ukrainian special services. They're saying she whacked dude. A Russian escort whacked dude. Maybe. Meme war. Russia's defense ministry posted a meme showing Shahed drones with the caption, like snow on your head, and a threat of winter freeze on Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Ukraine's Stratcom fired back within hours with an image of a burning Russian oil refinery captioned, "We'll warm ourselves with the fuel of Russian refineries." And here's those images of the meme war amidst the real war of them, both Russia and Ukraine, blowing up each other's energy infrastructure and oil refineries and petroleum production capabilities. It's actually not a laughing matter in one little bit, as millions are going to suffer the consequences of this engineered energy crisis. Ukrainian MiG-29 jet crashing a Russian jet-powered Shahed drone at extremely low altitude along Odessa region coastline, ending in a visible explosion and downing. Here's some video of that. Let's show you some, if we can get it full screen. Here's some video of that event. Took it down right there. No two half measures. Russia rejects ceasefire proposal for Black Sea strikes. Reported on that yesterday. They're saying quit whacking the grain shipments and other foodstuffs exports. Russia's categorically rejected the prospect of a maritime ceasefire with Ukraine in the Black Sea, explicitly ruling out any measures that offer a pause to Kiev. It's horrific. Stop it, guys. Where's Trump? He promised if he was elected, he would end the Ukraine-Russia war in 24 hours. Here we are, a year and a half later. It rages on, worse than ever. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said Putin has made it clear that all objectives of the special military operation will be achieved. I watched the reports from the front. They're impressive young men, resolute and proud of their country. It's a freaking meat grinder. Was it? There's reports Russian troops on the very front line roll out there for a minute and get whacked, something like this. It's horrific. It needs to end. More from Lavrov. He went on to say, more and more voices from different parts of our shared space are calling for immediate halt to the war. Yeah, right here, Weaponized News. End it, bro. Stop the senseless killing. That won't work, he said. We should stop when there is a long-term, reliable, and sustainable settlement. They're still fighting over the Donbass and those other spots, right? If we were suddenly to stop now at the line of contact, then we would essentially allow the feet of our grandfathers and great-grandfathers who defeated Nazis to be erased. That is impossible to consider. U.S. backs Japan in recognizing its sovereignty over Russia's Kuril Islands. We strongly oppose any action that undermines peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific, but deny historical treaties U.S. itself signed off on doesn't undermine peace and stability in the region. That was a Russian with a snark reply there. The United States remains unwavering in its support. This is the ambassador to Japan of its most important ally, and I thought our most important ally is Aardvark land. This is an anti-Semitic post by the freaking ambassador to Japan. I'm outraged. I'm calling the State Department. It's outrageous, isn't it? Iran threatens hundreds of strikes across Syria if Damascus intervenes in Lebanon. The Iranian threat reportedly thwarted a U.S. plan to use Syria's extremist-led forces to fight Hezbollah in Lebanon. I don't know how any of that would sort out. I guess U.S. Proxy terrorist armies could go fight Hezbollah theoretically. Tehran has warned Damascus that if Syrian forces intervene in Lebanon against Hezbollah, Iran will strike hundreds of targets across Syria using missiles, drones, and other tactics, including the presidential palace, according to Iranian state media to Sam News. Aardvark warplanes and artillery batter southern Lebanon amid intensive border bombardments, Aardvarkland warplanes and drones have launched an intensive wave of airstrikes targeting wooded outskirts across southern Lebanon, focusing heavily on the border villages of Montessori and Majadal Zun. I think I figured out I could pronounce these words better. I just need to slow down, right? I think so. Anyhow, thank you very much, producer. I appreciate it. According to reports from Lebanon's national news agency, the aerial bombardments were accompanied by extensive Aardvarkland military demolition operations and heavy machine gun fire directed at the perimeters of Montessori. Concurrently, military vehicle movements and artillery shelling were documented by local correspondents in nearby village of Haddatha. The latest assaults underscore an ongoing campaign of systemic destruction across multiple southern Lebanese border towns, highlighted by a massive overnight explosion detonated by occupation forces in the wooded sectors east of Montessori. Wowzers. And it just goes on and on and on. Here's some, where was this at? Adi al-Jabil, southern Lebanon. Military vehicles, occupation forces moving there. Not really that exciting, but you can see them in the distance, tracking the occupation movements there. And onto the explosions, Aardvarkland forces demolished 60 apartment complexes in southern Lebanon. Here's a video of that giant demolition. And now you have a pile of rubble to live in. Quite horrific. There's some more in the distance. Where's this? Aardvark occupation forces continue to target Ali al-Tahir Heights with incendiary munitions. There's a systemic campaign of arson now going on there in Lebanon, leveling the place, committing ecocide, ethnic cleansing, genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity. That's our greatest ally, folks. Aardvarkland drone strikes on Ali al-Tahir Hill, southern Lebanon. Here's a still image of that. The terror campaign is ongoing. More incendiary munitions, a longer shot here. Same location, Ali al-Tahir Heights. They're taking all the land, right? As they've said, Greater Aardvarkland Project. They're taking it all. Aardvark occupation forces continue to demolish residential homes in Bani Hayyan, southern Lebanon. Some video of that. Systemic demolition of southern Lebanon. Lebanon passes law allowing those who fought with Aardvarkland during its occupation of southern Lebanon to return to Lebanon. Crazy. I don't know how. Yeah, well, crazy. Overnight drone strikes target northern Iraq, leaving material damage to Erbil governorate. A series of mysterious drone impacts struck multiple districts across the Erbil governorate in northern Iraq overnight, triggering localized fires and material losses without causing any direct loss of life. At least no one died there. And we're still mysterious drones. Somebody's launched them. U.S. aardvarks. I don't know. Other actors, Iran. Hell, let's blame Russia. Somebody's launching these attacks, and nobody wants to. And most of the time, they take credit, right? Most of the time, somebody takes credit, and it's obvious, and it's reported where the attack came from. But there's a string of, quote, mysterious attacks across the region where no party is taking credit. Smells like a sneaky aardvark operation to me. I'm just saying. Okay, continuing here. Palestinians widely reject Hamas disarmament before full aardvark land withdrawal from Gaza. Over 70% of residents believe aardvark land would resume its genocide in Gaza the moment the resistance lays down its weapons. You think? I wonder what gave these damn terrorists that idea. The apocalyptic hellscape that aardvarks have created for them there. The never-ending lies, the torture and rape of detainees, and on it goes. The evil, on and on it goes. You know what I mean? So these damn terrorists in Palestine think if they give up their arms, what little defense they have, the genocide will ramp up again. Shocking, I know. Kianis, southern Gaza, reports of 2 people injured and one seriously after aardvark land gunfire into Kianis. They're still stacking bodies at a slower rate there in Gaza, but they're still stacking bodies. The genocide continues. Jared Kushner launches emergency Egypt and aardvark land tour to rescue, faltering Gaza roadmap. Trump's son-in-law and world criminal envoy Kushner is scheduled to travel to Egypt and aardvark land alongside senior officials to salvage a fragile diplomatic roadmap for Gaza. There is no roadmap. This is Axios. It's nonsense. His deals are falling apart. The Flamingo Revolution is out to get him. And now he's trying to stitch together some kind of BS technocracy there in Gaza, smart cities, as they rolled out at the beginning of the fake board of peace of crap that they tried to rig up over there. All schemes, scams, frauds to profiteer off of genocide. True evil. But what the hell? Old Millet and him are best buddies. I do believe he said that Millet would stay at his house as a young child. And so as long as they're family representing the interests of America, we don't have much to worry about, right? Sure. U.S. fails to intervene as aardvark land re-detains 20-year-old U.S. citizen without charge. A 2-month-old campaign by human rights groups and family members calling on the U.S. to secure the release of 20-year-old U.S. citizen Sama Safi has intensified following her rearrest by aardvark land occupation forces. She was initially abducted from her home during a middle-of-the-night raid in the occupied West Bank and held under administrative detention. Her right here, American, but Palestinian, so I guess that means she's a terrorist. It's an American citizen. According to reports from American Muslims for Palestine, her prolonged detention and the notoriously harsh conditions inside aardvark land prisons caused a severe deterioration of her pre-existing medical conditions, forcing authorities to grant her a temporary release to receive emergency hospital treatment. However, upon completion of her initial medical care, aardvark land occupation forces promptly re-detained her. Local rights organizations, including the Palestinian Prisoner Society and Ademir Prisoners Support and Human Rights Association have documented systemic medical negligence, overcrowding, and physical abuse with the detention network since October 2023. Despite clear evidence of arbitrary detention and health risks facing a U.S. passport holder, the U.S. Department of State has refused to demand her immediate, unconditional, and preeminent release. Can you hear us, little Marco? The U.S. regularly provides diplomatic cover and billions in annual military aid to Aardvarkland while consistently failing to protect its own citizens, including U.S. citizens Omar Assad, Shari Abdu Aki, and Ashurn Izigi from Aardvarkland military violence and unlawful imprisonment. Our greatest ally wouldn't do that to U.S. citizens, would they? Our State Department would do something. Hell, Trump would do something. He loves America. They're still bombing refugees in tents there in Gaza. Here's a clip of a young girl filmed herself inside a refugee tent in Bala, Gaza, moments before Aardvarkland airstrike shakes the tent. Thankfully, she didn't get blown up in the thing, but you can see right here. They're bombing refugees in tents, man. The last section of the show here to wrap up this Friday edition, Aardvarkland Finance Minister Smotrich said the prolonged war has created a new security reality. We have more territory to defend. All that land they took. We will remain in the security zone in Gaza, in the security zone in Lebanon, and in the security zone in Syria. We have no intention of withdrawing from there, despite what unfortunately they say on the left, and this reality will remain. They're taking all that land and more. The Greater Aardvarkland Project will continue. They reiterate it every friggin' day. There should be no mistake about it at this point. Arrested for having a wedding there in Palestine, Aardvarkland National Security Minister Ben Gvir arrested 2 Palestinians for celebrating their wedding day. Here's some video of that. Allegedly, they blocked traffic, and that's why they needed to be arrested in celebration of their wedding. A groom and bride who created a wedding convoy on the roads of the Negev and caused intentional traffic jams and disruption to traffic were detained by officers. And so he's just doing it to free up traffic. There you go. Aardvarkland plans to shift West Bank law enforcement from military to police. Aardvark War Minister Katz said earlier today called on police to assume responsibility for law enforcement in the occupied West Bank, replacing the military. If enacted, the move could mark a step toward Aardvarkland annexation of the occupied Palestinian territory. The announcement came nearly a week after Aardvarkland settlers began blockading Palestinians inside their homes in the northern occupied West Bank, repeatedly returning despite military attempts to disperse them, allegedly disperse them. According to local residents, Aardvarkland occupation forces have blocked dozens of international solidarity activists for from reaching Palestinian homes that remain under an ongoing military siege in the town of Qusar, located south of Nablus in the occupied West Bank. And there's video of it. Well, I'll just show you a little here. Right there. You can see a little bit of the video. So they're trying to starve them out there under siege, and I guess force them out and then beat them or whatever they may do, detain them. France calls on Aardvark land to prosecute settlers over the blockade. Even Mike Huckabee, as reported yesterday, has condemned it as an act of terror. Shocking and antiseptic of him. The U.S. presses Netanyahu to condemn settler siege of Palestinian homes in Qusar. Yeah, even Mike Huckabee, they say here. Yeah, you know it's bad, even Mike Huckabee. The U.S. is apparently pressuring Bibi Malay to publicly condemn the siege. Imagine that level of antiseptic. Ro Khanna said, that's Congressman, co-author of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Ro Khanna, Congressman out of California here, says that Bibi Netanyahu should be tried under the ICC and the ICJ, and he's supporting the process to take place. The U.S. should support it, support the ICC's investigation, support the ICJ's findings. They're trying to dismantle it, sanction it, and put it out of business right now. The U.S. is, same report, trying to pressure them. We'll see how that works on the siege. And then finally, this report out of Reuters, Aardvark land soldiers in the occupied West Bank diverted a critical water source from the Palestinian village of Bas Yil in June, cutting off irrigation and turning the spring into a tourist spot. According to this report out of Reuters, the move has left surrounding Palestinian agricultural lands barren, i.e. poison the well or just steal the well in this case. Let's watch this report out of Reuters to wrap up this Friday edition of Weaponized News.
Israeli settler Yishai Schreiber enjoys a pool filled with fresh water diverted from Palestinian land.
They're afraid, terrified to death, right? Any Arab family that came here would simply run away.
The spring was a lifeline for the nearby village of Fasail in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. But in June, settlers cut off the Palestinians' irrigation pipes and siphoned the water for their own use, including filling this ancient pool. Settlers soon advertised it as an Israeli tourist attraction. Welcome to Herod's Pools, the sign reads, bearing the logo of the party of Israeli far-right minister and settler Bezalel Smotrich, who pledged financial support for the development. There are no Palestinians here, only Israeli families.
When you show them what the truth is, meaning you show who is strong, who is really the owner of the house, then they will simply flee.
Nearby, Saad Nemer's crops are dried out. His greenhouses would usually be full of eggplant, zucchini and watermelon. We haven't had a drop of water for the past 3 months, the Palestinian farmer says, and many families in Fasail will lose their livelihoods. Nemer said settlers had threatened him and beaten up an employee for attempting to approach the spring as far back as 2 years ago. He showed Reuters land ownership documents, including one from Israel's Kogat military agency, proving both the spring and the pools were on his land.
We cannot go fix it or do any maintenance work since 2 settlers arrived there and prevented us.
Neither Kogat nor Smotrich responded to requests for comment. Israel's far-right government has backed a massive expansion of settlements across the West Bank, where settler attacks on Palestinians and seizure of their resources have risen sharply.
Since the start of this year alone, at least 160 sites related to water and sanitation came under settler attack, according to UN data. Palestinian activist Faris Fuqaha estimates that settlers have seized control of 95% of springs in the northern Jordan Valley, displacing communities. It's heartbreaking, he says. While Adil Yassin of the Palestinian Water Authority called it part of a water war to force Palestinians off the land.
It harms the Palestinian side more than shooting at them. A bullet kills one person, but cutting off a water source kills a community.
These natural springs are some of the last still accessible to Palestinians. They're near the city of Nablus, and in the past rarely faced settler raids. But hundreds descended this summer to sit at the tables and wade through the pools. Nizam Faris owns the park.
People have become scared and jumpy. They come and ask if the settlers have come or not. We don't see peace and tranquility. We see things going from bad to worse.
All right, let's get to Iran international headlines here. Are we blowing up Iran since we've been on the air? Let's see if I can get it to load here. Trump vows to hit Iran hard economically, a 1-2 punch. Iran hits back after Trump says he may declare Hormuz U.S. territory. Yeah, we covered that. Yeah, not much going on there. At least we haven't launched a heavy attack. Currently, let's see here. Latest headlines out of Al Jazeera. Houthis cannot hold Bab al-Mandab hostage, says Yemen's foreign minister. Amnesty International condemns state-backed ultra-Zionist settler terror campaign in the occupied West Bank. U.S. economic pressure on Iran and now taking to the forefront. So about what we reported to you here, no major breaking developments. All right, let's head over to the channels and wrap up this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button if you haven't already. I appreciate that. Let's try to work through and get to the Odysee channel first, as per usual. It takes a few clicks to get there. A few clicks and a few refreshes, but we do eventually get there. All right, here we are now. Shout out to the Odysee audience. Shout out to Highland, John, Danger, Pink. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Friday edition. Pink says, I'm starting to see Trump as a Lego only from the Lego video. He is a cartoon character, that's for sure. Why can't that a-hole shut his mouth? John says. Trump throws gas on the flames with his outrageous statements, from boasting to threatening. Clearly, his zombie handlers have told him that they want war to continue. Yeah. According to his statements, that's yeah. The Lego things are good, Highland says. They did put out some more. They're putting them out a lot. I just didn't play any. Yeah, they're better than, John says, Lego videos are far better than U.S. propaganda. Iran is winning the propaganda war. More expensive weapons that don't work. John says, nothing stops a modern hypersonic missile. Any claim otherwise is just a grift. I agree, John. And we don't even have, they haven't even shown us our hypersonic missiles. Gas prices doubled in my country. The stock market is completely rigged. It's fake and gay and is meaningless. Danger says gas prices doubled. John says, to be fair, Trump has always been disgusted by poor people. Pink says, vote harder, bro, for Trump. He's a right-wing American populist. Cares about you and I, the little guy. What a load of shit, man, they sold us with Trump, I tell you. Shout out to Test over there. Let's see, Agenda 2030. Yeah, all that's going on. The Great Reset's still going on. Agenda 2030 is still going on. It's all that is ongoing. They're building out Greater North America, our region of one world government. Better believe it. All right, thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee, keeping that chat lively and informative. Last comment here. John says Trump is destroying the economy of the United States and the world so rapidly and efficiently that it suggests he's following a plan that was thought out many years ago. Indeed, he's just a puppet front man of said plan. All signs point toward that would be the agenda. All right, thank you guys for tuning in on Odysee. Thank you for tuning in on X, Kick, Facebook, Bitchute, Rumble, Substack, and YouTube. Let's go over to these comments on the Rumble and YouTube that are integrated in here. Shout out to Ruckus at the beginning of the show. He showed up there. Some newcomers on the YouTube. Shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to all. Says Luigi is a retard. William. Shout out to William. Richard. Shout out to you are freedom to do as we tell you. It says thank you. Thank you for your work, Sam. Well, thank you. And I did get a somebody I was noticing, it doesn't come through if you give me a super chat on the Rumble. Somebody gave me a super chat over there. Apologies for I think it was Chloe gave me a super chat over there, and maybe somebody else on the Rumble. Thank you very much, Chloe, and another donor on the Rumble. If I missed that, I apologize, and I appreciate it. You guys got to realize my interface is not the same as your guys on the chat. I'm looking at it through a restream feed, and it doesn't do it justice. So let me just say that. But that's my interface, and that's my problem. But I do very much appreciate the super chats, the donations on YouTube and Rumble. Thank you very much over the last few days here now. And if I missed anybody, apologies. Direct message me on the X and tell me what you want me to say in the super chat. I don't know. That's the best way to communicate, honestly. Weaponized News on the X. Direct message is open. Just send me what you want me to say in the super chat. Shout out to Snow over there on the YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. On the Kick, somebody, I'm from Iran, says Trump says bullshit every time. This is shameful. Oh, we had somebody over there, Saeed Psycho, says they're from Iran. If you speak English, message me. Come on the show. Tell us what it's really like on the ground in Iran there. Let's see. I used to during the bad times, I used to have a guy in Belarus, and he was telling us how it was in Belarus there when the Russia-Ukraine war kicked off, and how it was for the bad times there in Operation Lockstep. So we do appreciate foreign correspondents that can tell us what it's actually like on the ground there. I've seen Democrats say Trump eats babies. I've seen them say he was a convicted rapist. He was civilly convicted. Actually, he had to pay that one broad a bunch of money, if you don't remember. Their Old Glory. DSA is domestic terrorist organization. Make commies. Do you see anybody promoting the DSA? Well, why would you say end them all and all this and violent rhetoric on my chat? The real AR Nilo. You see us endorsing the DSA? It's ridiculous. Shout out to Denver and Mac on the YouTube. Strong on the Rumble. Yeah, I can't say all the J stuff. You guys, I'm not going to do it. I'm just simply not going to do it for a myriad of reasons. Shout out to Rick. Let's see, what does Denver say? FBI forges unprecedented law enforcement ties with China and Russia. Trump administration is one world government with the very nations we pretend to be at war with. Trump supporters are supporting this because they either don't know about it or they're retards or they're traitors. I guess the cat got all the Trump supporters' tongue in the chat. Stop being mean to MAGA, Denver. You know they are sensitive snowflakes. The white race needs to deliver. Yeah. Yeah. Jan on the old Rumble. Shout out to you over there. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. The replay will be up soon here. Let's see. Very dangerous people. We need to wake up. Muslim people are very bad. Are they? I know some Muslims. They seem okay to me. Yeah, all that division, divide and conquer, balkanization, forget it. That's how they rule us. That's how they rule us. All right. Shout out to Denver again. Thank you for your thoughtful comments on the YouTube. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Friday evening and weekend. If anything extremely dramatic in the war happens, then we'll have to do a special report. If not, we'll see you back here on Monday for more weaponized news. Let's pray for peace in all these conflicts, wars. A lot of innocent people are dying senselessly, and the repercussions of the demolition of all these different energy infrastructures all over the world is going to filter down into famine and cause a bunch of people to starve to death in the third and fourth world and have economic implications on us here in the first world as well. Let's pray for peace in all these conflicts and have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday for more.